Hey y'all, welcome back. I have decided that I'm going to split up the video that I made for the Ready to Renovate Virtual Summit. It's really lengthy, about 40 minutes, and I feel like a lot of people come to my page with one specific question on water damage, and I think it's going to make it easier for those of you who are looking for specific areas of water damage to kind of navigate where that's at. This video is going to be specifically for your ceiling, so if you have ceiling water damage, definitely check this video out. Like and subscribe for more, and if you have questions on your specific camper, definitely send me a message so I can help you navigate through it. Hope y'all enjoy it. Now, I've tried to simplify this in the best way possible, so I broke water damage repairs down into 6 categories. So these principles will be used for all types of repairs, and they're really the core of all water damage repair. I'll go into each one of these in more detail, but the 6 R's of water damage include resealing your camper, removing the damaged wood, reframing, reconfiguring your electrical, R13, which is a type of insulation, and then replace, which is adding new paneling or OSB. Now, before you think about starting on repairs, you need to make sure that the leak has stopped and there's no more water intrusion. So you need to locate where the water is coming in and then reseal that area. Common places for leaks are windows, exterior lights, and basically all corners and edges of the camper. As you can see in this picture, the water was coming in from the roof in this little gap right there and was leaking all the way down into the ceiling and created a pretty nice soft spot in the ceiling that I had to replace. So that's all it takes is one small gap to have some pretty extensive damage. Now next, you're going to want to remove any rotten wood or insulation. Make sure to take a picture of your framing so you can have an idea of how it all goes back together. A multi-tool is really great for cutting in tight spaces where you're kind of trimming off the rotten wood of your framing. And it's going to help you control your cuts and not dig into the aluminum or fiberglass siding. You'll also want to clean up your studs, trusses, or joists by removing any nails, staples, or glue from your frame. Now, after all of your damaged wood and framing is removed, you're going to want to rebuild your frame. I usually like to work piece by piece until all the framing is repaired. Definitely refer back to that picture that you took of your framing so you can have an idea of how it all goes back together. So basically, I measured the dimensions of my original framing and ripped down 2x4s to that same size to rebuild it. I use overlapping and stagger joints to join the new wood into the existing framing. I'll go into more detail about what I call a buddy joint in a few minutes, so definitely keep that in the back of your mind. Now, if you're repairing frame damage, most likely you will have to reroute and reconfigure your electrical wires. So campers have a 12 volt and 120 volt system. Basically, your 12 volt wires are going to be really small. Your 120 volt wires are going to be much larger. They're usually encased in white or yellow, as you can see in the picture. There's both in that picture, and the 120 volt will have 3 separate wires in them. There's going to be a black, a white, and then there's a copper for the ground. So you'll be able to tell the difference if it's a 12 or 120 volt. Now, do your best not to cut the wires, especially if it's 120 volt. Try to feed them back through the wall or the floor or wherever if possible, and then reroute them to where they need to go. But if you have to cut them, I highly recommend that you learn how to solder. I do have a video on my YouTube about how to solder wires back together, but there's lots of good videos all over YouTube about soldering wires. And my main reasoning for that is you don't want to have to be digging through your wall or your ceiling or your floors because your wire nut came off and your wires aren't connected anymore and something's not working. So if it's going in anything that I'm not going to be able to get to easily, always solder it. Now, always feed your electrical through the framing. Never add paneling or floor or ceiling directly on top of electrical wires because then you run the risk of pinching it, and then you're definitely going to have some electrical issues after that. Now, I like to use R13 insulation. It is inexpensive and it works really well. So floors and ceilings will use a full roll of insulation, and for the walls, you'll need to tear the thickness in half. So your last step is going to be to replace. You're going to add a new piece of paneling or OSB over the framing that you just repaired. Basically measure and draw out your piece, cut it, test fit it, and then use construction adhesive and to glue the wood onto the frame, and then you can use staples or screws to secure it. Now, this is very important. If you don't listen to anything else in this entire presentation, listen to this slide. So first, you're going to make sure that your camper is unplugged and your battery is disconnected. You can even go as far as flipping your breakers off just to be safe. My reasoning for that is because you don't want to electrocute yourself, because chances are you will be dealing with electricity, your wires, all that fun stuff. So unplug your camper, don't electrocute yourself. Next, always try to work in 4x8 sections, always. So campers are built using 4x8 sheets, and it's a lot easier to replace the whole panel than it is to cut small sections out and try to repair it that way. It's also going to make your camper look like there was never any water damage at all if you repair it based on the dimensions that the manufacturer built on. Last, always split the framing when repairing water damage. Well, what does that mean? Let me show you a few examples. So let's look at a wall first. You can see the highlighted areas where the studs are, which are evenly spaced 4 feet apart. When you go to reinstall a new panel, the edge of one side will be nailed to the right half of the stud, where my white arrow is, while the other side of the panel will be nailed to the left side of this other stud, which is the other white arrow. Now the ceiling gets a little more complicated because sometimes it requires electrical and ductwork planning, but the principle is still basically the same. These are some basic materials you'll need to repair your ceiling. 5mm plywood underlayment is what I use, a full roll of R13 insulation, construction adhesive, and staples. Now I use the 5mm underlayment because it's a little thicker than the 1/8 inch paneling and you don't really see as many dips in the ceiling. Plus I am not a huge fan of MDF, so anytime I can stay away from it, I'm definitely going to take it. Now again, the exception to this rule is aluminum frame. This is specifically for wood frame, so I would not try to use the staples in the aluminum frame because it probably won't do anything, but I don't know, I've never tried. So your first step is going to want to be to remove any cabinets that are attached to the ceiling panel that you need to remove. Notice I am working in 4-foot sections again. After your cabinets are removed, you can proceed to take the panel down. I use my multi-tool to score the edges of the panel because when the campers are built, they put the ceiling down first and then the trusses, so the panels are actually made underneath the trusses. Now after your panel is down, be sure to keep an eye out for where the electrical goes. And just kind of take it off right there and throw that panel out. Then you can start removing any nails or staples and basically just clean up your trusses and double and triple check to make sure you have no more staples. You're then going to want to mark all of the locations of the trusses on your wall. This just gives you a vantage point from A to B to know where to put your staples once you put your new panel up. You're also going to want to put in your insulation. As you can see in the video, my very sophisticated way of hanging insulation is using electrical tape. And after you've got your insulation up, you are then ready to basically measure and make a map of what holes you need for your electrical and your ductwork. So I make a map on a piece of paper, just double and triple check where everything needs to go. I do cut out my panel with a circular saw and a saw guide, and basically just measure where all of the electrical and ductwork goes and go from there. So it's actually pretty easy to do. Yep, and there's my little map right there, which is great. There's my 5mm plywood, cut it out according to your map, my circular saw with my saw guide. I would highly suggest cutting your panel upside down because you're going to have one side that's going to have a rough cut on it, and you're going to want that part to go up in your ceiling. That way you have a nice smooth finish. It just makes it look a lot cleaner. Even though it's going to be covered up with trim, I still like to do it just to be on the safe side. Now I do use a hole saw to cut the holes for the electrical and ductwork. And my reasoning for that is it's a really easy way to make sure everything's lined up. Um, so after your holes are cut, you're going to want to go and test fit, make sure your electrical lines up where it needs to be and your panel fits. And then you're going to grab a friend. Oh, actually, no, construction adhesive first, and then grab a helper. So just put construction adhesive all over your trusses. Make sure it's nice and good on there. And then you can grab a friend to help you. Position your panel in place, feed the electrical through your panel, and make sure to line it up so half of the panel is on one side of the truss and the other side of your panel is on the other half of the truss. And then after that, you can start to staple your panel in position. And then just kind of get it tacked up there. And then you can get a chalk line and put it from your truss marks on the wall to know exactly where your trusses are. I didn't do a chalk line because my mom ran away, and I've replaced so many ceilings, I can just eyeball it by now. And then you can grab a router with a flush trim bit and use the foam inside the ductwork to kind of guide yourself on how big to make the hole. So, yep, and there is my router. Just kind of eyeball it and router out the holes and call it a day.